Are you struggling to come up with original content week in and week out? Start a podcast. Interview your ideal clients, let them talk about what they care about most, and never run out of content ideas again. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to B2B Growth, a daily podcast for B2B leaders. We've interviewed names you've probably heard before, like Gary Vaynerchuk and Simon Sinek, but you've probably never heard from the majority of our guests. That's because the bulk of our interviews aren't with professional speakers and authors. Most of our guests are in the trenches leading sales and marketing teams. They're implementing strategy. They're experimenting with tactics. They're building the fastest growing B2B companies in the world. My name is James Carberry. I'm the founder of Sweetfish Media, a podcast agency for B2B brands, and I'm also one of the co-hosts of this show. When we're not interviewing sales and marketing leaders, you'll hear stories from behind the scenes of our own business. We'll share the ups and downs of our journey as we attempt to take over the world. Just kidding. Well, maybe. Let's get into the show. Welcome back to B2B Growth. I'm Logan Lyles with Sweetfish Media. Today, I'm joined by Derek Slayton. He is the Chief Marketing Officer over at Terminus. Derek, how's it going today, man?
It's great, Logan. Thanks for having me on. Excited to do this with you guys.
Absolutely. It is great to meet you. We are obviously big fans of the Terminus team. We've had Sangram as a regular guest on the podcast here.
that guy Sangram? Got it.
Yeah, that guy Sangram. We love him around here. We talk about him a lot. So it's great to meet more of the Terminus team and to have you on today. We're going to be talking about some of the key areas where B2B marketing is lacking today and what marketers can really do about it to address some of those areas of lack. Before we get into it, man, I would love for you to provide listeners with a little bit of background on yourself and what you and the team at Terminus are up to these days.
Yeah, glad to. I run marketing at Terminus. I've been with the company for about a year and a half. I've got a big background, I guess, lots of time spent in product and corporate marketing roles across B2B companies, primarily in technology, SaaS companies. And I've kind of lived through the evolution of marketing as a cost center to marketing as a revenue driver, and joined Terminus because I just believe in this account-based thing as a practitioner. And it was super exciting to join a company to not only practice ABM, but also help others practice it as it kind of becomes just a better way to do B2B marketing. And for those that don't know who Terminus is, I'm sorry because I'm not doing my job. But as a brief backdrop, we are an account-based marketing platform. We help customers kind of pick the right segments of the market, target the right accounts, and then engage with those accounts through creative messages that bring them into your pipeline. The things that we do that are kind of different, one is, we aggregate data, so your own data plus third-party data plus a bunch of intent and signal data out in the wild and help you put that all to use pretty easily. We own the point of engagement, so we're very good at getting messages through display ads, emails, and other channels to those target audiences. And then we really do a solid job of measuring results at an account level and being account-centric and helping you tell your bosses where account-based marketing is driving results and how your programs are performing. So that's what we do. That's actually what I do too as a marketer. So I kind of have a bit of a meta thing going on personally. But yeah, that's me and Terminus in a nutshell.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love hearing any time where someone is an advocate for a brand and then, is able to join the team. I just think that's such a recipe for some magic things to happen. And you guys have some great things going on over there at Terminus. Derek, as you and I were talking a little bit offline, you mentioned this distinction. We talk a lot about sales and marketing alignment on the show. I think it's some of the episodes that get a lot of engagement because it is a buzzword and has been for a little bit. You kind of push against that phrase a little bit and push for a shift in thinking about this. Tell us a little bit about that, man.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the question. And we were chatting about it beforehand, Logan. I just feel like this alignment thing has been beaten to death and everybody kind of has a kumbaya about it. But what does it really mean? I actually think sales and marketing need to be more integrated than aligned. And, when I think about how I work with my CRO at Terminus, it's very much a arm in arm thing versus I'm going to carry it this far and then I'm going to pass it to you and you're going to carry it that far kind of thing. And alignment is really about managing the handoff. Integration is really about we're on a journey and my team's going to be primary here and your team's going to be secondary, and then we're going to switch and you're going to be primary and we're going to be secondary. And maybe at some points we're both going to be secondary and somebody else is going to come in, but we're going to make sure that happens. So it's really, we talk a lot about integration of sales and marketing. And I'm not talking about organizationally, although I think sometimes that may be where people end up. But it's really just about the mindset of we both own this mission, and the success or failure of this mission is on both of our shoulders. And it's not a, I've done my part when it gets to this point, alignment kind of conversation.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Derek, because alignment means, to take your analogy of running on the track, is we're in the same lane, but I'm still handing it off to you when my part is done. And now I'm expecting you to take that part, which is better than running in opposite lanes or just, zigzagging across the field.
Correct.
But when you're running arm in arm, there are parts that, especially with ABM, where sales does something, then marketing, and there's this mixture of the activities together, as opposed to one segment, then the next segment handled by each function. And like you said, that can lead to different organizational structures or, other sorts of sales and marketing motions. But I think the overall shift in mentality is an important one at first. And something that you guys talk about a lot, Derek, as far as, where marketing is lacking in the support of sales, has actually been this focus on the number of leads. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the whole, and people have probably heard this, a bit from other sources as well. It's the whole concept of lead-based marketing versus account-based marketing. And we sell to accounts, and there are people at accounts that we sell to, and a buying committee we need to be aware of and get our message to. But at the end of the day, when we're measuring success in form fills and lead metrics, for B2B companies, that just doesn't mesh well with how sales is trying to get their job done. And I think if you're super focused on a lead volume and leads as that baton pass, then you've got a huge challenge in really having an efficient sales and marketing engine. And that's really what the account-based whatever, marketing, sales, go to market is all about. And I think that the devil's in the details though, right, Logan? Like if you're going to go down that path, then you got to shift your mindset about how do you do the work and how do you measure the work? Mm-hmm. Because companies, I think marketers really relished, 10 years ago when we could sign up for a number and that number was just measured in leads.
Yeah.
And we got out of the, red balloons or blue balloons kind of decision into the how are you actually going to affect a number for the company? Right. The problem is we picked a number that at the end of the day isn't as relevant to success as it could be. And I think now we're trying to get out of jail a bit from making a decision. So,
yeah, I mean, and I think it goes to the alignment or integration with sales. I've heard Sangram say, companies don't have lead executives, they have account executives. I've heard John Barrows say, I kind of call BS on, marketing needing to be account-based. Like sales has always been account-based. So if you're going to be aligned, then that should just be the way that it goes. You touched on something there, Derek, that I want to get into, and that's some of the how. We've talked about some of these things here on the show, and I think even marketers who are already there and say, "Yep, I see a lot of this value, but I don't know how to make that shift." And one of the shifts that they're likely going to have to navigate is having a conversation with their CEO about the shift, about what it looks like to change in what they're measured by. Tell us a little bit about, maybe what marketers can do in those early conversations to get buy-in from the rest of the executive team and especially the CEO.
Yeah, I mean, I think what companies talk about at the executive table all the time is we know what success looks like, but what are the leading indicators to whether we're going to succeed or not? And that's pretty well defined in sales, right? It's pipeline, generally weighted pipeline, those kind of metrics. And in marketing, the proxy has been leads, right? And there was always this mathematical equation where you tried to figure out what your conversion rate from lead to pipeline to revenue was going to be. And what we've seen is that has just fundamentally broken down in terms of the equation in trying to marry up the relevance of a lead to a signed customer. So really, when you think about an account-based scorecard, how do you as a marketer make the CEO understand that marketing is now going to be measured on a better leading indicator to pipeline than leads are? And if you have that conversation with your CEO, like, look, we need to continue to drive further away from success and understand what the leading indicators of success will be so we can manage expectations, resource alignment, staffing, all that stuff. And when you start looking at measuring marketing on a better leading indicator, and you're talking to your CEO about I have a better idea to give you a better leading indicator to how well I'm performing as a team, then I think your CEO is going to be like, great, let's do that, because I'm tired of having the lead conversion argument between sales and marketing. And for us, it's engagement. Like, so within my target market segments, how well am I engaging accounts at an account level such that they will turn into pipeline at a better rate? And so really that's the way to have, in my experience, and having done it a few times, and also having worked with, we have hundreds of customers that are going through this journey as well, and seeing what ones of them are more successful or less successful in getting their company to embrace this concept. It's really around thinking about it in that mindset.
I really like that as someone who's gone through the 4 disciplines of execution, or 4DX, as people know that model by, something that struck me there is that it's very common for people to get hung up on lag measures, which is, for folks who aren't familiar with that methodology, is you talk about what we know success looks like. But the devil in the details is, what are the leading indicators? And so I like the way that you put that, the lead measures or the leading indicators that are going to be a better predictor of success. And that's the right way to have that conversation. You mentioned from there, then starting to build out, okay, how are we going to measure, or building out our ABM scorecard? What advice do you have for folks in getting started there once they get some initial buy-in, Derek?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a vendor here, so just a quick warning, right? We have a solution that helps with this stuff, and we do it every day with our customers. So if you haven't checked it out, please do. But I really actually think it's comical to me that as a marketing leader, like, what is my dashboard for success? And we have this conversation a lot internally. It's not marketing automation, right? It just isn't. It's pipeline reporting in Salesforce for us. And so when we start looking at an account-based platform, it's how can we believe that marketing is delivering on numbers? And that is really in measuring, these are my market segments. I'm identifying these segments based on this data. And we agree that these are the best indicators of the best markets for us to put resources behind. And then I'm going to measure at an account level how well we're moving the needle of getting that account to being, aware and interested in what we do. And those are measurable things. Our solution helps you do that. Me personally uses that internally. But I think if you're going to go down this journey, you got to buy a platform that helps you do it. Like, so in our business, we talk a lot about what makes us different from a couple of the other folks that are in the account-based platform space. And really, I'm not that interested in differentiating what we do from some of the other folks, because we all do a pretty good job. There's some different stuff that we do that other folks do. What I need the market to understand is that if you are going to do this, you've actually got to make a decision to acquire the capability to do it right, or else you're going to spin. And you're going to end up back in like, well, we can measure leads. Let's go back to leads.
Yeah. What are some
I'm not saying buy technology for technology's sake, but understand that the current technology set that we all bought 5 to 7 years ago actually doesn't support an account-centric market plan. And you need one too, if you're going to do it.
Today's growth story is all about search engine marketing. The company we're highlighting is SentinelOne. This challenger cybersecurity brand was set out to disrupt the endpoint protection space. Their brand was top-notch, their product was innovative, but they were struggling to gain traction online in an already developed industry. Then they found Directive Consulting, a B2B search marketing agency. Within the first quarter of working with Directive, SentinelOne was able to increase their organic traffic by 128% and overall lead volume by an outstanding 251%. Now, I have a hunch that Directive can get these kind of results for you too. So head over to directiveconsulting.com and request a totally free custom proposal. That's directiveconsulting.com. All right, let's get back to this interview.
What are some of those areas in either putting together the plan, putting together the right resources, or the expectations, no matter what platform someone's using, where you see people consistently miss the mark and they don't give themselves enough in the beginning stages for success, let alone sustained success, Derek?
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of it is just picking your how you're going to roll this out. So I need to focus on, for this part of our business, we are going to make this decision and we're going to shift our structure to be focused on accounts. We're going to drive account-based methodologies to penetrate those accounts. We're going to measure our success against those accounts, and just being really practical and transparent in how big of a bite you're going to take off, and then how you're going to measure that success. And I think, partnering with sales, partnering with account development or sales development, whatever you call that function, which may sit in marketing or may sit in sales, and understanding the expectations in the process, and then just committing to it. What I've seen people fail with more frequently than not is being overly transactional in how they do it. Like, we're going to run this and then we're going to measure it in 5 weeks. And if we're not seeing success, we're going to question ourselves. Like, nothing wins more than consistency. And you can't control the timing of your buyer as much as you might think you'd like to.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
So they're the right accounts. They will eventually have a propensity to purchase from you, but it may not be tomorrow. And there's a lot of factors that you can't control in that equation, but you need to stay persistent in being in their mind so that when they either are close to ready or become ready, and maybe you can accelerate that a bit, then they reach out to you, or they are receptive to something where you're reaching out to them. But you can't just assume that they're not the right account because they're not engaging. They probably are the right account, but they got a bunch of stuff going on. They just acquired a company. They just brought in a new VP of whatever. Like, there's stuff that goes on.
Yep. Things that, as someone who's been in B2B sales for 10 plus years, you just know those sort of things, and you know to kind of account for those sorts of things from a sales perspective. And I think marketing, putting on that lens as well makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's very much in line with how we're talking with marketers about podcasting. Can we do 3 podcast episodes over 3 months and then measure success?
Right.
No. Nope. Consistency is the key in these sorts of things that take a bigger shift, a longer time, whether that's brand building and thought leadership with a podcast, or making a shift to an ABM model. These sorts of things definitely take time. You mentioned something there, Derek, that, it's crucial to give it time to play out because you know that you're targeting the right accounts. Yep. Are there some areas of advice you could give to marketers that are just starting out in this area of account selection, where maybe you see some common pitfalls, or you have some repeatable advice that you're giving to folks so that they can kind of have a little bit more assurance and a little bit more trust in the process as they look to build consistency over time and look for the long-term results?
Yeah, I mean, we could probably talk for 2 hours about this subject, Logan, so I'll try to be concise. I think we're finally coming around to better understanding the connection between brand and demand. And I think if you're going to be successful in account-based, it's really being cognizant of how you're going to measure brand marketing in its ability to drive engagement / demand. And for too long, because we've been so focused on kind of results-based marketing, our brand experience has been clickbaity, right? In B2B. And all we're looking for is I just want to put that message out that's going to get someone to download the white paper, or I'm just going to, whatever, it's a green button versus a blue button, or it's some wording around free, right? Where in B2B, we've just been so caught up in how do I drive my response rates from 0.044 to 0.065, right? And you gotta remove all that and be able to measure, I'm putting a great brand experience in front of these accounts. I'm going to reach them through digital ads and digital experiences, but I'm not going to actually measure their clicks because nobody actually clicks, right? Eventually they engage. And they engage over their own process, which is seeing your brand promise in a great ad that's creative and touches on a pain point they have, and getting an email from your company that identifies, what their biggest problem is and how you can help solve that. And then seeing you at an event and having the people in the booth be able to communicate the value proposition of what you do as it relates to their problem. And then at the magic moment, being on your website and filling out, I want to see a demo, right? And so you have to think about how you're going to measure the account in total as opposed to the channel of engagement you're trying to drive. And for us, that's just a critical thing that you have to think about. And if you don't, and you're just trying to measure the channel effectiveness, then you get to this clickbaity thing, which is just, it's mind-numbing.
I mean, it does two things. It gives us a false perception of reality because we like to picture this, buyer journey a lot more linear than it actually is, and in this siloed channel. And that's not the case. It's across all these channels of engagement, online and offline. And then it also just leads us to, well, if we can't tie this back to, a specific conversion metric and attribute leads to it, then it's not worth it. And it puts, demand gen and brand kind of at odds with each other. I see people talking about a podcast and struggling with this. Well, we don't have the email addresses and the demographics of every podcast listener.
Right.
My pushback is, well, does it matter if you are drawing people in with content that's not clickbaity, but is actually delivering value? Isn't that what inbound marketing, and our shift to content has been all about? That we build a brand and put out content that attracts people, doesn't ensnare them or trick them with clickbait. And so I think I get passionate on that a bit. And I think there's some alignment between you and I there, Derek. Well, this has been a great conversation, man. You hit on really three things that I kind of jotted down, having the conversation with your CEO and your executive team framed around this idea that I think we can have a better leading indicator for success. And then two, setting the expectations that if we resource this correctly and we get our heads around it the right way, a shift to an account-based everything, it can sustain success, but it's going to take a little bit of time. And then three, looking at brand and demand working together and not being at odds with each other. Some mental shifts that can inform some practical applications. Any other thoughts you want to leave folks with today as we wrap up, Derek?
No, I mean, I think you touched on kind of the highlights there. So well done, Logan. I think you hit on a lot of good points. I think the other concept is just think about having a conversation with your head of sales about how are we going to be better integrated versus just aligned. And I think, just I'm a marketing guy, so I believe the words matter. And I think that just puts the right context around how you want to partner with sales, however your company is organized across marketing, business development, sales, customer success. How can we be better integrated in delivering a customer experience that we're proud of? And wouldn't it be great if all our customers were great customers, right? That's really what we're trying to get to here. Because absolutely. More and more people are measuring success based on LTV versus the transaction, which is great. And it's a subscription economy, I'm told. So it's only getting more
I've heard that too somewhere.
Right.
I'm with you, Derek. Awesome, man. Well, hey, this has been a great conversation. I'm sure that folks listening to this are likely going to have some follow-up questions or going to want to stay connected with you, Derek. What's the best way for them to reach out, stay connected with you and the Terminus team, man?
Yeah, well, you can check us out on our website, terminus.com. We'll attribute everything to inbound if you do that. And you can hit me up on Twitter at Derek Slayton or on LinkedIn. I'm easily findable there.
Awesome. And if you're a big fan of this show, you're likely going to love Flip My Funnel as well. So find that wherever podcasts are sold, in addition to following Derek and going to terminus.com. Derek, this has been a great conversation, man. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks, Logan. It was great. Really appreciate it.
We totally get it. We publish a ton of content on this podcast, and it can be a lot to keep up with. That's why we've started the B2B Growth Big Three, a no-fluff email that boils down our 3 biggest takeaways from an entire week of episodes. Sign up today at sweetfishmedia.com/big3. That's sweetfishmedia.com/big3.